All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are going to crack the code on some of the most common and, let's be honest, most annoying profit and loss questions that you see on pretty much any aptitude test. Okay, time to master these things. You know the feeling, right? You see a word problem about buying scooters or selling a bunch of pencils, and you can just feel your brain hitting the brakes. You're not alone. They're actually designed to be a little tricky, and most of all, to eat up your time.
But what if I told you that behind all these confusing words, there are really simple patterns? Well, today we're going to build a mental toolkit. We've got 6 essential shortcuts, call them hacks if you want, that are going to help you solve these problems in seconds, not minutes.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to tackle 6 different kinds of problems, starting with hidden costs and going all the way to balancing profits and losses. By the end of this, you're not going to see these as scary problems anymore, but as puzzles you know exactly how to solve. First up, the hidden cost trap. This is an absolute classic. Test makers love to use this to catch you off guard by making you focus only on the price tag.
So, have a look at this one. Alfred buys a scooter, he fixes it up, and then he sells it. The question is, what's his gain percentage? It seems pretty simple on the surface, right? But there's a crucial first step here that trips up so many people.
And here it is, the core logic. The real cost isn't just the $4,700 he paid for the scooter. It's what he paid for the scooter plus what he spent on repairs. You've always got to calculate your total investment before you can even think about calculating your profit. Okay, so let's see how this plays out. First, we add that repair cost. $4,700 plus $800 gives us a true cost of $5,500. Then we find the gain. Easy subtraction, that's $300. Finally, we calculate the percentage. And boom, the gain is 5.45%. See? Just by remembering to include those overhead costs, a tricky problem just becomes simple arithmetic. All right, let's move on to our second shortcut. This one deals with a really confusing type of question, the kind where profit is measured in goods, not in money.
Okay, get this. By selling 100 pencils, a shopkeeper gains the selling price of 20 of them. The wording there is deliberately confusing. I mean, what does that even mean?
Well, here's the key insight that unlocks the whole thing. If his profit is the selling price of 20 pencils, it really just means he already covered all his costs by selling the other 80. The money he made from those first 80 pencils paid for his entire initial investment, which means the money from those last 20 pencils, that is all pure profit. So the math suddenly becomes incredibly simple. The profit is just those 20 pencils he didn't need to sell to break even, divided by the 80 pencils he did need to sell. So it's really just 20 divided by 80. And there you have it, a clean 25% profit. No complex algebra, nothing fancy, just one powerful little insight. Okay, for our third hack, we're going to flip things around a bit. This time, instead of calculating the profit, we're actually given the profit, and we have to find the quantity. I call this one the reverse ratio puzzle. So the cost of 20 items is the same as the selling price of some unknown number of items, which we're calling X. We know the profit was 25%. Our job is to find that value of X. Now, this one looks like it might need a little algebra. Okay, whenever you see a problem with an X in it like this, the best way to handle the algebra is to keep it super simple. Let's just assume the cost price of one single article is $1. Watch how this just clarifies everything. If one costs $1, then 20 of them obviously cost $20. And since the problem says that equals the selling price of X articles, we now know the selling price of a single article has to be 20 divided by X. Now we just plug our nice simple values into the standard profit formula. We substitute 20 over X for our selling price and 1 for our cost price. We just rearrange it a little bit and we find that X equals 16. Let's move on to hack number 4. This is the price per item shortcut, and it's perfect for all those questions where items are bought and sold in bundles. Here's a classic example. A vendor buys toffees at 6 for a rupee. The question is, how many should he sell for a rupee to make sure he gets a 20% gain? You know, the trick here is to stop thinking in bundles. So the most important step is to find the cost of a single item. If 6 costs 1 rupee, then 1 costs 1/6 of a rupee. Now we want a 20% gain, so we just multiply that by 1.20. That gives us a target selling price of 1/5 of a rupee per toffee. And if 1 toffee sells for 1/5 of a rupee, well, that just means you sell 5 toffees for a full rupee. Simple. All right, hack number 5 is one of my personal favorites. I call it turning savings into quantity, and it reveals a really amazing shortcut for any questions about price drops. Take this question, for example. A 10% price drop on sugar lets someone buy 2 extra kilograms with the same $200. We need to find the new, lower price. This seems kind of complicated, but trust me, it's not.
Okay, get ready for the aha moment. The money you saved because of the discount is exactly the amount of money that's paying for the extra stuff you can now afford. Let me say that again. The savings equal the cost of the extra quantity. And once you get that, the calculation is just 2 simple steps. First, how much money was saved? Well, 10% of $200 is $20. Second, that $20 is what paid for the extra 2 kilograms. So what's the new price? It's just $20 divided by 2 kilograms. It's $10 per kilogram. That's it. It's such an elegant shortcut that lets you just bypass all the messy algebra you might have been tempted to set up.
And now for our final hack, balancing profit and loss. This is for those questions that give you 2 completely different scenarios, one that makes a profit, one that takes a loss, and asks you to find the common link between them. Here we go. The profit you make when you sell something for $900 is double the loss you take when you sell it for $450. This is a multi-step problem for sure, but the key is just setting up a simple balance. Let's just break this down nice and clean. We don't know the cost price, so we're going to call it X. Now, in the first case, the selling price is $450, and that's a loss. So the loss is the cost minus the selling price, X minus $450. In the profit scenario, it's the other way around. The selling price minus the cost, $900 minus X. Now, we just translate what the problem told us. Profit is double the loss into a simple equation. We set our profit equal to 2 times our loss. We solve this easy equation, and we get the cost price, $600. And from there, figuring out the price for 25% profit is a piece of cake. The final selling price is $750. We just took a pretty complex sounding problem and turned it into a simple balancing act. So there you have it, your new shortcut toolkit. Let's do a super quick recap. 1. Always factor in those hidden overhead costs to find the true cost. 2. You can think about profit in terms of unsold stuff, not just money. 3. When you need to work backward, just assuming a simple value can solve the whole puzzle. 4. For any bundle problems, always start by figuring out the price of just one item. 5. Remember this amazing one. The money you save from a price drop is exactly what pays for the extra stuff you get. And 6. You can untangle complex stories by balancing profit and loss with one simple equation. These aren't just tricks. They're genuinely smarter ways of seeing the problem. With these 6 shortcuts in your back pocket, you are totally ready to go after these word problems with speed and a whole lot more confidence. So the only question left is, which one are you going to get to use first on your next test? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're running a full-on bootcamp for mastering profit and loss aptitude questions. We're going to break down all those problems that pop up on countless tests. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll be solving them faster than you thought possible. Let's jump right in. So, have you ever looked at a problem packed with percentages, prices, and profits, and your brain just kind of freezes? If so, you are definitely not alone. These questions can look super intimidating, but they're really just puzzles, and I'm here to give you the keys to solve every single one of them step by step. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute fundamentals, cracking the code. Then we'll get into the core calculations, learn how to work backwards when you have to, and then, my favorite part, we'll unmask the common traps designed to catch you. We'll finish up with some real-world stuff and a toolkit you can take with you. Ready? Let's do it. Okay, first things first. We have to get the basics right. To solve these problems, you've got to speak the language. Honestly, once you nail the vocabulary, everything that comes next gets so much easier. This next part is all about the core concepts. No matter how complicated or tricky a profit and loss question seems, it always boils down to the simple relationship between what you pay for something and what you end up selling it for. So let's lock in the 2 most important terms, cost price, or CP, and selling price, SP. Now, the cost price isn't just the sticker price, it's the total cost. For instance, if you buy a radio for $225, but you spend another $15 on transport to get it, your actual cost price is $240. The selling price? Well, that's just what you sell it for. Simple as that. All right, let's see this in action. Using our radio example, the total CP is $240. If we turn around and sell it for $300, our gain is just the selling price minus the cost price, which is $60. Now, to find the percentage, and this is absolutely crucial, you always divide the gain by the cost price, not the selling price. So $60 divided by our $240 cost, that gives us a clean 25% gain.
Okay, time to level up a little bit. What happens when you don't actually know the original cost? This is a classic test question, where they give you the selling price and a loss percentage, and you have to figure out where you started. The key to cracking this is just shifting your perspective. A 14% loss isn't just a random number. It means the price you sold it for is what's left over. So if you start with 100% and lose 14%, the selling price is just 86% of what you originally paid. Once that clicks, you're pretty much home free. So let's apply that logic. Let's say you sell a bike for $2,580, and that represents 86% of its original value. Well, to find the original cost, we just divide that price by 0.86, and boom, we get $3,000. Now, if we want to figure out a new selling price with an 8% gain, we just find 8% of that $3,000, which is $240, and add it on. Our new target price is $3,240. And now for some advanced training. This section is all about those sneaky problems designed to trip you up. They look really complex on the surface, but once you see the hidden trick inside them, they become surprisingly simple. Let's kick things off with the classic dishonest dealer problem. So this dealer, he claims he's selling at cost price, right? Making no profit at all. But he's got a trick. He's secretly giving you less than you paid for. He promises 1,000 grams, but only hands over 960. That little 40-gram difference, that's his real hidden profit. Now listen up, because this is the crucial part. The dealer's gain is not based on the 1,000 grams he promised. His profit is based on the 960 grams he actually gave you, because that's what his cost was for. So to find his true gain percentage, we have to divide that 40-gram error by the 960 grams he actually provided, and that gives us his real profit, 4.17%. All right, now for what might be the most famous trap question of all time. I'm serious, this one gets people constantly. A man sells 2 watches for the exact same price. He makes a 10% gain on one and a 10% loss on the other. Your first instinct is to say it all evens out to 0, right? A 10% gain, a 10% loss, it sounds perfectly balanced. But it is a total trap. In this exact scenario, 2 items, same selling price, same percentage gain and loss, the outcome is always a net loss. It's just a mathematical fact, and it's one of those great aha moments when you finally see why. And here's the best part. There's a ridiculously simple shortcut to solve this in just a few seconds. The loss percentage is just the gain/loss percent, which we'll call X, divided by 10. And then you square that result. So in our case, 10 divided by 10 is 1. 1 squared is still 1. That means it's a 1% loss every single time. And hey, if you don't believe me, here's the proof. To sell something for $99 and make a 10% gain, the cost price had to be $90. To sell something for $99 and take a 10% loss, the cost price must have been $110. So your total cost for both watches was $200, but you only brought in $198 from selling them. That's a $2 loss on a $200 cost, which is exactly 1%. The math checks out. Okay, let's move on and see how these ideas apply in the real world. We're going to look at things like marked prices, discounts, and some clever pricing strategies that are based on quantity instead of just straight percentages. Now, I'm about to give you an absolute game changer of a tip. This is a pro-level move that makes really complex percentage problems way easier. Whenever a question is only about percentages, just assume the cost price is $100. It makes all the other numbers so much simpler to work with. Let's put that tip to the test. So, a tradesman marks his goods up by 25%. If we assume his cost price is $100, that means the marked price is an easy $125. Then he offers a 12.5% discount on that marked price. So we just calculate 12.5% of $125, take it off, and we're left with a final selling price of $109.375. And since our starting cost was $100, our profit is simply $9.375, or 9.375%. See how clean that was? All right, here's a different kind of brain teaser. This one isn't really about percentages, not at first anyway. This is all about quantities.
And it's a real test of your logic. Think about it. The money you spent to buy 12 pens, you made all of it back after selling just 8 of them.
The logic here is actually super simple once you see it. After you sell 8 pens, you've completely recovered your initial investment. You're at break even. That means the remaining 4 pens are pure, free, and clear profit. So your profit is 4 pens based on the cost of the 8 pens it took to break even. And 4 divided by 8 is 1/2, which is a massive 50% gain. Whew, we have covered a ton of ground. So now, let's pull it all together into a powerful little toolkit that you can use to crush these problems on test day. Here it is, your ultimate cheat sheet for success. You've got your basic gain formula. You know how to work backwards from a loss. You've got the formula for that false weight trap. You've got that awesome shortcut for the 2-item problem. And of course, the golden rule. For percentage problems, just assume the cost price is $100. This is your complete toolkit. So, now that you've got the tools and you know the secrets behind the traps, the only question left is, what are you going to do with it? Which one of these problem types are you going to hunt down and master first? Pick one, find some practice questions, and turn this knowledge into a real, solid skill. Thanks for tuning in.